our panelists, if you guys want to come on up. We have panelists Shawnee Harvey, we have Ken Jackson, Kimberly Logan, if you want to come on up.
If you all will just come on up. Doing business with foundation-supported projects and grants. Our moderator for today is Mr. Charles Rito. Charles Rito serves as the Acting Executive Director of the New Mexico Office of African American Affairs, an agency dedicated to enhancing the economic development, education, health, and political well-being of the African American community in New Mexico. Throughout his career, Rito has demonstrated a strong commitment to public service. He has served in the armed forces as a law enforcement officer, as a first responder, and in various capacities within the New Mexico state government. Prior to his role in OAAA, Office of African American Affairs, he worked to improve the quality of life for children in New Mexico at Children, Youth, and Families Department, CYFD. Rito holds a bachelor and master's degree in social work from New Mexico Highlands University and a master's in business administration from the University of Phoenix. In his current role, Charles Rito is dedicated to advocating for and supporting the African American community in New Mexico, focusing on issues such as economic development, education, health, and political engagement. At this time, can we welcome Mr. Charles Rito and the panelists at this time?
Thank you, Beverly. It's always a challenge to have to come after Beverly, regardless to what her speech might be or what she's presenting to you, because she has big shoes. So again, how's everybody doing? I realize it's early, so thank you for being here. Thank you for participating. So this is actually a good segment, if you would, from the first, when you were talking about recruiting and business owners and whatnot. So now that you are a business owner or a potential entrepreneur, there are many, many different foundations or organizations, whether they be government organizations, and that includes city or state, or profit, non-profit organizations that all have an opportunity for you to become a vendor or a supplier for those organizations. So I have represented here behind me or beside me 4 different panelists that could speak to either one of those or probably several of those different organizations, and we have questions for them that I'm sure that they'll be able to address or give you some idea, point you in the right direction as to what that might look like for you, regardless of which level you're looking at. Okay.
And we'll start the clock.
Oh,
For my timer.
oh, no, she didn't say that. So, my first question to the panelist is, how does an organization or a business become a vendor or supplier for the state of New Mexico or your organization?
Oh, that sounds like my question. And I'll preface, because the title of the panel is Doing Business with Foundation Businesses and Large Institutions. So up here you have a number of government officials. So we're more expertise on the side of what does it mean to work with government. But in a different life, I wear another hat as an Empower board member for the Santa Fe Community Foundation for the Empower Black Futures Community Fund. So I'll do my best to kind of throw in a little bit of information in terms of foundation and philanthropy from experience as well. When it comes to working with the state, there's probably 46 state agencies plus a ton of other programs, including amazing offices like the Office of African American Affairs. And our General Services Division, or GSD, because state government loves acronyms, General Services Division is our main state agency that runs procurement. So on their website, there is a supplier and vendor portal where you can enter your information for your business to kind of get yourself in that system. But the way that state contracting actually works depends on the agency. So if you were gonna work with Charles' office, OAAA, or our offices with EDD and creative industries, Sometimes we go through the main supplier list. Most of the times, folks who are going through General Services Division are looking at large form requests for proposals, or RFP. So most of that will go through that process. If you're working with Department of Transportation, for example, a lot of that goes through GSD. But individual state departments also do a lot of their own independent contracting for contract amounts that are $60,000 and under. And when it comes to contracts that are that size, between 0 and 5,000 and 5,000 to 60,000, oftentimes you're actually going to work directly with the agency, and they'll take a W-9 from you and process it through our Department of Finance and Administration. Contracting with the state is great once you get past the supplier and vendor supply setup portion of the process. It is probably the most difficult piece of the process, and once you get the contract, that's a lot easier, but just getting set up can often take anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 weeks, and even longer if they're kind of trying to input a lot of new suppliers and vendors, so especially when it comes to grants and contracts. But for the state, there's an online service through General Services Division, and then sometimes it depends on the agency that you're working with. And oftentimes I encourage entrepreneurs to come with a proposal of their services and a scope and a price, and directly approach the agency that you're looking to partner with to offer training or provide some sort of service or program or product, and work with them directly to see what their needs are. And oftentimes you can work directly with the agency, and it's usually for much bigger requests for proposals and things that will go through the General Services Division.
And for the city, there are different processes to actually work with the city. Excuse me. When it comes to the procurement process, I can send you the information. We do have different links and information that will allow you to sign your business up, become a vendor, and go through the entire process. So those resources are there. But as an entrepreneur, the one thing that I would ask is, what are your intentions wanting to work with the city? Why, right? Because as an entrepreneur, this is just me, I'm after the check as soon as possible, right? So if I'm looking at money generating opportunities and how soon can I generate the funds that I need, well then going through the city, yes, it's great. It sounds like it's a home run, right? Go through the city, the opportunity's there. I understand that, and that's great. But if you are an entrepreneur and you're looking for a check and you want to reduce the time frame between you providing the product or service and getting the check, I'm simply saying, is there another route that you can take while everything is processing through the procurement process and everything else that you're trying to get through the city? So are there routes? Absolutely. I can provide that type of information, but as a business owner, I would like you to understand why you want to take that route. Is that route best for your business at that time, or is it best now and to also pursue other avenues? So we do have different opportunities for people and businesses to actually go through our procurement process. I can get that information to you, but again, I just want you to really think about, okay, why do I want to take this route? And then how long is the process going to be? Because if you're a business owner, then we have to start figuring out, right, overhead and everything else that we have to pay for, and how long will it take before I do the service and then them to pay it out, okay? And that's just facts, okay?
So one thing that Shawnee said earlier, and I know everybody heard it, and it was, she mentioned the term W-9. A W-9 is simply an IRS form that's actually, at least for the state, is kind of like the first process for the registration for the state. And the W-9, actually, it collects demographic information, it collects your employer ID number, depending on how you are going to register with at least the state. You could elect to use your name versus your business name. And if you're using your name, you would be required to use your social security number, which a lot of people aren't really, tickle pink about doing that. But if you are a business, you should have probably get the acronyms wrong, but an employer ID number. Either or, depending on how you want to follow your W-9. But what we would tell you, state-wise, is that usually what you want to use is what you would put on the form would be very similar to how you would file your taxes. And then once you do that W-9, again, I'm speaking for the state, I don't know if it's similar to the city, is that you have an option to get what I refer to as a live check when you take to the bank, or you could have it, I want to say it's HCA, which is the equivalent to a direct deposit. For the state, it takes a few more steps because you would need to, depending on which agency you work with, you would need to send us a blank voided check that has all the bank routing information on it. But some agencies will accept routing information from the bank. So it really depends on what agency that you're dealing with at the time. But that's what a W-9 looks like. So let's hear from Ms. Rogers, see what she can add to all of this exciting news.
Sure. So I'm going to come from a little bit of a different perspective because Mr. Jackson handles kind of the traditional routes. But I'm learning a lot as a city councilor. And I want to share some things with our people that we don't get told about funding and government agencies. So Mr. Jackson's exactly right. It is not easy to do business with the city of Albuquerque. Let's just say that. How many of you have done business, had a contract with the city of Albuquerque? Anybody? Anybody? Yeah. Yeah, they're like, they're going like this. Like, do I want to say? Because it's a lot. It is a lot. If you are lucky enough to go through the RFP process and get chosen, then you get in through that route. But there's another route they don't tell you about, through your elected officials. Right now, the city of Albuquerque is going through our budget process. We just started our first, we were there till 12 o'clock in the morning, literally going through our capital budget. Now, you can appeal directly to your city councilor where your business is located or where your home is located. Right now, you can get meetings and say, I would like you to support my business. I would say come with a one-pager, because we get a lot of requests. And I only have 2 requests from the Black community, which is why I'm here to say, come on, y'all, right? But we don't know. They don't tell us these things, right? So you can just make a one-pager. What is your business about? What is it that what service can you provide with your business to the city of Albuquerque? Why is your business unique and why does the city need to support it? And what is your dollar amount ask for your, and again, the city has a $1.7 billion budget, right? $1.7 billion, right? So you can directly appeal to your elected officials. Right now, the legislature, same thing. Your senators and your representatives have capital dollars. Capital dollars can be spent on tangible goods for businesses, roofs, machines, things like that. Capital spending is another avenue for funding that a lot of businesses, especially Black-owned businesses, don't get access to, right? So you can absolutely appeal, get your one-pager together. That's back to the marketing, right? That's marketing. Right? That's a one-pager you can take around, you can go up to the legislature. What I would do is get the online website of what the legislators look like so you know who you're walking past in the hallway. Literally, I just took 25 people from my district and we did this. I gave them a handout that had all the pictures of who we were looking for, where their offices are located, and sent them out to go bring back more capital money for my district, right? So I'd say that again, appeal to your city councilors right now. Who knows, how many of you know what district you are a part of, your business or your home? 1 or 2? Yeah. So just go to CABQ, just Google CABQ, find my counselor. You can enter your address. Same, find my representative for the state, enter your address, and it'll show you pictures and contact information for who your reps or senators or city councilors are. Because you can go directly to us. I mean, you should see the amount of white orgs that are coming out everywhere asking me for funding, even if they're not in my district, right? Because it's a service that the city needs to provide, and that's another way that you can access funding. And what's great about a counselor directing that funding to you, it doesn't have to go through all that other mess. It doesn't. And the administration can't say no. Right? It's something we put in legislation that gets passed. He could try, and they could try, but I watch my money and I make sure it gets to where it needs to go. And I'll just be real, for Black orgs in the city of Albuquerque, it's rough. I see a pattern for my orgs. I'm watching our contracts and are they getting executed? Just an example, Black Chamber of Albuquerque. This is economic development of the city. They have had a long-standing contract with the city, but still for FY25, we're almost at the end of it and still don't have a signed contract. That is a problem. And that is something I'm speaking about vocally in our council meetings to make sure why, and I see that pattern all like, we have 5 of our orgs that got money that still do not have a contract, which is problematic. And I will continue to scream about it until they get it right. Because guess what? The Hispano Chamber, they got their contract real quick. And their contract is much more intense, right? Many more millions of dollars than we're giving the chamber with their little $60,000. And they can get that one done real quick. So I'll stop there because I can go on and on. But appeal to your local elected officials because they have money that they can give you, and they should outside of this whole process because it is hard for us to go through that process and get selected.
Kimberly, same question.
Okay, so I'm gonna stand up so you guys can hear me. So I'm coming from a different perspective as well. My name is Kimberly Logan, and I also recently relocated from Columbus, Ohio 4 months ago. I am a WIOA business consultant. So that stands for the Workforce, can you hear me? Okay, that stands for Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. And what it is that it is an incentivized funding program for local businesses where we incentivize you to expand your workforce. So there aren't any real requirements to get this funding. The fact that you are a business entity and that you are a taxpayer, these are your monies. The money is yours. So essentially, just to give you a quick background on what we do and what I can do for you, I'm here to partner with you. When you are looking to hire skilled talent, when you are looking to promote your current talent or to expand the training of your current staff, I can in turn reimburse you 50% of those wages for up to 6 months, completely free of charge. As long as you have an FIEIN number and you are current with your unemployment taxes, and I can verify a few other minor things, there is money that is available to you to expand your company, and I am that person. I am a daughter, a granddaughter, and a niece of black business owners. I grew up personally with people who are entrepreneurs, and I know the struggles. And so when I moved here and I moved into this position, I knew that I wanted to assist other minority-owned businesses, and it was just like a voila moment for me because I have a budget and I'm here to spend the money on you, but you don't even know that the money is there. But as a taxpayer, you've been paying into it, and so I'm here, and we are here through the America's Job Centers, which is a division of the Workforce Development Division for New Mexico. And if you are looking to create skilled talent within your workforce and allow us to partner with us to measure that, and measure that how you are contributing to New Mexico's workforce percentages and putting people back to work, then the money is available to you. And like I said, if you hire someone into a position and it is an in-demand position or within a demand industry, which is a very vague term, let me just tell you, it's vague. As long as we can measure that you are hiring and promoting local talent and you partner with me, I will pay half of their wages to you monthly for up to 6 months. So I'm here to let you know that there's no requirement. You are already qualified. All you have to do is get in touch with a person like myself or a member of my team. And there are other programs as well. We also pay for internships. Like we will pay interns to come work for you. We will help you develop a apprenticeship program. We will, when you send your people for customized trainings which are certificated trainings which give them transferable skills, and I can verify that and I can measure it, in the end, I'm the one that decides if I'm going to give you the money or not. There's not a lot of red tape. It's up to me. I say yes or no. So I'm here to let you guys know that there is a lot of money out here. And as far as the administration goes, even though it is federal funding, we are part of the getting people back to work. So as people, and this program has been around for a very long time through both sides of the administration, left-leaning and right-leaning. So we are very important as far as getting people re-entered into the workforce, and we don't foresee anything happening with our funding. And right now we have the funding. I have the money, so I'm here to tell you that I'm here to partner with you. I have money for you. You just have to reach out and speak with me or speak with a member of my team, and we'll be willing to get those funds to you.
Can I add to that?
Please do.
Okay, so, right, Business 101. You can now find a
Thanks, Kevin.
17-year-old kid, encourage them to work, right, get a job with you. They'll pay half of it. Then you've got Job Training Albuquerque that provides $15,000 worth of free classes from welding to QuickBooks. And now you can now leverage that, because now the kid that you're only paying half to work for you, you can now offer that same kid free training, which means that child will now stay with you for a longer period of time, because now he's now invested in you, your business, and what you can provide to him. And that's just a long-term relationship between you and a kid that is not on the streets. So if you look at the resources and you leverage them the right way, there's no reason why you can't find the right employees that want to stay with you for a long period of time. And yes, go through the city and get all the funding you want, but it's right now, right here for free.
Yep.
Anyone can do this. And you can leverage it to help the community and then provide jobs and only have to pay half the salary. Like, that works.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
And then to even piggyback off of that, after you train that individual and then he gets those free funds to go to school, you can come back to me, and when you're ready to promote him, then I'll pay for half of that promotion as well.
Free.
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 And I love what you said, Ken, about our youth. Like, youth in the city of Albuquerque are suffering. They need this. They need this. New Mexico was ranked the laziest state in the country. And the number one factor to that ranking was idle youth. Idle youth. We have youth who ain't in school, ain't working, ain't in a program. Like, this is something our community can do for our kids to make sure they have a leg up. And then make sure they're investing that money, that's another panel, so that they can, yeah, there's so much, but we can do this. We can do this.
So thank you, Kim. Thank you, Ken. That was just question number one.
Let's go.
You feel me?
Yeah.
Just question number one. Thank you all. So when Kimberly was up, she mentioned that acronym again, EIN. So it really tells you how important it is to have the information you need to be able to take that first step. Again, that's the employer ID number, one of many numbers you'll need. The other thing that I want to share before we move on to question number two, because they technically already answered it, is that depending on whether you are contracting, and maybe even when you're contracting, you may be required to provide the organization, whether it's states or city or private, more than one quote, depending on the amount of money or the support that they're going to give to you. I mean, I can say, for instance, I know for a fact that if someone's going to contract with my office for anything under $20,000, they would need to have their quote, not them, but we would have to have two. We'd have theirs, and then we'd have to seek out a second one. And if the provider we want comes in, I'll throw a number out there that I don't do numbers, at 10,000, if that second quote you get comes at 9,000, you won't be able to use your original vendor unless you do a letter supporting why you're going to go with the 10,000 as opposed to the 9,000. And if any of you have something different from your agencies, please chime in.
Yeah, I mean, for EDD, anything from 5,000 to just under 60,000, so 559,999, we have to do 3 quotes total. So not even just 2, but we have to pull them. And same with like justification. And you have me thinking like if you have other business owners who might run in similar fields or industries near you, you might be able to talk to someone about producing another quote. But it might work to call your friends in that one, because then at least the business would go to someone who's in your network.
That is so correct. So again, depending on whether you state a city, there's a lot of paperwork involved, so the quicker you get started, the faster you might see a turnaround with the funds that you need to move forward. So again, that was still question number 1 of 5. So the second question, again, most of you have already answered. And the second question was, how do the requirements to be a vendor or supplier different from entity to entity? And most of you have already explained that, but if you want to add anything to that, please do so.
Depends on the kind of work you're doing. So if you're doing construction, right, they're going to be looking for bond amounts and making sure that you have those certifications and licenses. If you're doing contracting through the healthcare authority for a specific thing, or for behavioral health, it really depends on the industry area and what your expertise is as an entrepreneur. You're probably going to need to have some of those certifications.
And then let me just add that in order to gain access to WIOA funding, one of the main requirements, or one of the things that could bar your company from being able to receive the funding that I'm able to provide to you, is if that position that you're hiring for is also federally funded, because I'm using federal funds. That's one of the only stipulations. And WIOA does not fund anything cannabis, because federally cannabis is illegal. So we have to make sure that we're not bumping heads using federal monies to pay for federal monies, pretty much. So, but other than that, you're all qualified. I mean, it just depends on the position, and it depends on what it is that you're trying to do with your workforce in order for you to receive the funding through WIOA.
Thank you.
Can I add something for foundations and
Yes, please.
and the other word, philanthropy? And when it comes to doing business with philanthropy and foundations, the biggest thing there is there's not going to be a lot of requirements, but part of it is getting on their email list, right? So you know when the grants are getting launched, whether that's the McCune Foundation or Kellogg or the Santa Fe Community Foundation, Albuquerque Community Foundation. I think there's a New Mexico Foundation. But so many of the foundations and philanthropy organizations, both in New Mexico but across the country, they do releases, but if you're not on their mailing lists, you won't know. And the biggest thing when you're applying for funding with a foundation or a philanthropic organization is that the service or product that you were providing, and oftentimes they do a lot of granting only to nonprofits, and it's not often that you'll see them do grant making for small businesses, but they still do it. And it's about being on their mailing lists and then also being in line with their focus areas. So if you're going out for a Kellogg grant, you're making sure that you can find a nonprofit partner. Oftentimes nonprofits are really interested in partnering to bring in additional funding, and they might be able to run a contract through your business to provide some sort of service. So that nonprofit partner could help you apply for philanthropic funding where they get to operate with a piece of it, and then you also get to provide your product or service, but you want to be in alignment with whatever their focus area is. So Kellogg, youth, right, making sure that youth are economically empowered, and I think it's hunger as well, right? They focus a lot on that. And then, Santa Fe Community Foundation does grant making across the entire state of New Mexico, and they have several different funds that are very community specific. So they're doing LGBTQ+ work, they're doing Black community and empowerment work, they're doing things for women and children. It just depends. So the biggest thing about getting funding with philanthropy and foundations is making sure that you're in alignment with those goals in those areas that they serve. Albuquerque Community Foundation is also very broad, but it's really about taking the time to kind of research and get to know who those foundations are in your area.
One other thing around grants. If you need a grant written or anything like that, if you email me, I've got a list of resources when it comes to organizations that will help you find a grant, and then individuals that will help you write the grant. So I send those out to people. Some of them are actually in this room right now that do grant writing and things of that nature. So I'm more than happy to share that type of information with you as well.
Yeah, and shameless plug for New Mexico Grants Administration, who's here today with Talal Santal right here in the back, running a great organization there, and he does grant writing support and local Black-owned business, so you can't go wrong there.
And Sarah Solis also does grant writing as well, so she's very awesome with what she does too.
And while we're doing shout outs, we also have Rio Rancho's Economic Development Director here as well.
So all of that's a great transition to the next question, so thank you all. And the third question is, are there any specific requirements to do business with your organizations, whether it be city, state, or nonprofit? Let's start with Kimberly.
Okay, so like I stated before, you just need to make sure that you have an FEIN number, as well as being current on your UI taxes. And also you have to have workers' comp and liability insurance. That's something else that I forgot to mention. So you wanna make sure that you have all of that in order when you reach out to myself or to one of my colleagues to access our funding, because one of the first things that we're gonna do is we're gonna check that you're current on your unemployment. And as long as that comes back as a yes, then we can move forward and talk about a plan for building out your workforce. But you can be private or nonprofit and receive these funds.
Thank you.
For council directed spending, there really are no requirements. It's up to the city councilor and the other councilors to make sure they don't take it out and we get the 5 votes to put it in. But for me, I do my due diligence on who I fund. So I'm looking at, do you have a registered business in the city of Albuquerque, whether it's for profit or nonprofit? I have focus areas that I want to focus on. I also want to support businesses in my district, in my council district, which my district, District 6, runs, if you're on Lomas and Eubank and you're going west, it goes all the way to I-25 and then all the way south to Mesa del Sol. So I have Nob Hill, International District, Fair West, Spruce Park, just tons of neighborhoods. I call my district a tale of 4 different cities, depending on where you at. But I live in the southeast, so I'm in the hood. I'm on the generals of Central. Y'all know the generals of Central? Y'all know around there. Y'all know. And that's important because I'm the first Black person to even be in this role, in any city council role. And for my district, in the last 20 years, we've not had a representative from the hood. They've been from Nob Hill or from Ridgecrest, which is the nice area of my area. So it's huge that we have representation for the people because that's where I come from. So for me, I'm focusing on my district homelessness. Homelessness, homelessness, homelessness. It is the epicenter of homelessness. And I just started a subcommittee of our Homeless Coordinating Council for the Black community. Because I don't know if y'all knew, Black homelessness is huge. You may not see them out there, outside. I mean, I do. I see them in my hood. I see some Black folks out in the streets. But most of us that are homeless are getting services. So when I pulled up to the West Side Shelter and saw how many of us and how many of our grandmamas, 55 and above, are living at the shelter, we should be ashamed, y'all, as a collective community. We need to step up. So I need orgs in the Black community to step up and think about services and what we can do for us. So homelessness is a big one. I'm looking for folks in our community. Churches, my Black churches, need y'all. You already do this work. You already do this work, but the city doesn't fund you to do that work. So I'm working on some grant processes and grant opportunities for churches who are already doing that work but don't get the services or the help from government to do that work. Youth development, that's another thing I'm really focused on. I want mentorship programs. I'm really wanting to launch mentorship programs in our district to make sure we can reach the youth, get them employed, get them in school, get them not idle, right? So that we can actually change things in our communities. That's those, and housing. How many of you heard of Jesse Waddles? Where's Black History? My last day, so we're gonna sprinkle some Black History in there. Yes, Jesse Waddles. Mr. Waddles was the Black community's go-to for years in our community if you needed housing. You could go to Jesse Waddles. He owned he was a landlord, and he would help put you in housing or help you get the resources that you needed for housing. We need a Jesse Waddles in our community. Who are our real estate developers? Who are our realtors and landowners and landlords who can help me house our people? So those are the 3 focus areas for my district that I would like to fund. Organizations, and I'd like to partner with any of the resource partners, getting some interns, all the things, so that we can really begin to move in the direction for us. And what that means too is I'm looking for volunteers who want to help me start an African American board and commission at the city of Albuquerque. We have boards and commissions that do the work and really tell the city what we need for our community. We haven't had one historically. The Native American community has one. They do a lot of great work in those 3 areas, but really leveraging the city to do more for us, especially in what's happening nationally. We are lucky to have an administration here, as far as the mayor, who supports this stuff, who has an equity and inclusion department that's not going away, who hired me to open the Office of Black Community Engagement that Nima has taken over. Like, we have the show. We just need us all to come together and do those things. So I was way off the question, but.
Thank you. Sean, same question?
Specific requirements, it really depends on the nature of the service that you're providing to the agency and whether or not you need to have those skills and materials on site. I would say that the biggest thing is still reflecting what Kimberly said around tax and rev. When we send a contract in for signature, it's going to get reviewed by Department of Finance Administration as well as New Mexico Tax and Rev. So if they catch anything, they'll put the contract on hold and they'll reach out to you to sort out GRT taxes. I don't think we look at unemployment, but for our end, it's usually looking at GRT to make sure that you're up to date on that side. So that's the one piece for us. And it's not that we'll check it individually, it's that tax and rev will catch it on the back end. And then that 2 weeks turns to 6 weeks, turns to 8 weeks, turns to you never want to work with the state again, but we really want to work with you and we know it's frustrating. So just know that process going into whatever entity that you're going to pursue. If it's a large institution in terms of state government, even local government, federal, it takes some patience and a lot of deep breaths and a lot of try to separate the people that you're working with, because we're going to work to make sure that we get your project taken care of and we're going to get you an answer. It's all the bureaucracy that comes behind it and the red tape and the back and forth and the who signs what that really makes that process difficult. And we just want you to stick with us because we know that we can get you through it. It just takes a lot of heart. So.
And it's on purpose. Let's shake it around.
Can I just add one additional thing? So I want to let you guys also know, as far as when I was saying that having a clear UI is a requirement, you can be a sole proprietor and you can have not paid into unemployment taxes and still be able to receive the WIOA funding. I just wanted to let you know, you can be your own employee, you can be an employee of one, and then I can come along and help you become an employee of two and continue to build out your workforce. So if you haven't paid into UI yet, because it's just you, that's okay, we can still work.
Thank you. Ken?
I echo what everyone's saying. It depends on what you're signed up for and what you want, the end result, through the procurement process or getting a vendor number. Again, as you go through the process, really have everything together, right? The taxes, I don't know how to say this, but make sure your taxes are paid and things of that nature. So it just depends on what you're looking for. But as you go through the process, you'll go through step by step, and it'll be you'll be able to know what you need as you go through the process.
Yeah, and every industry is needed. I've ordered paint cartridges from people, ink cartridges. We have done culinary stuff, and we contract with facilitators. We work with people across the spectrum of business. So regardless of where you sit and where you stand, there's something there. I mean, even, which I hate to put libraries on blast like this, but there's a potential there too, even for like authors and writers, right? They still need supplies, they still need materials. There is somewhere in institutions, philanthropy, and foundations that needs your product, service, or skill. It just depends what you're doing and whether or not you have the focus. But like a lot of us are free to talk about it. We have teams, we have staff, and we have people who are dedicated to making sure that we can get you connected to the right places. So even if we don't know it, we're happy to try and figure it out.
One other thing, sorry, so along those lines, right? Here's the reality. You're not the only one that is doing what you do, right? So yes, you can get everything filled out, but manage expectations and discipline your disappointments. The reality is there's probably someone else who does what you do, maybe not as well, but they may already be on that list. So when you're applying to work with different agencies, understanding that is something I would like you to take with you, right? Is that, okay, I'm gonna go through this process. It is going to be a process, but there may be 3 other people or 3 other companies that do the same thing. That's just the reality of it. So being able to understand that is easier on the mindset, and it's easier emotionally as you go into this process.
And don't take it personally, the system's not built.
It's on purpose to keep us out, y'all.
It doesn't really matter if you all do the same thing, I still can help you.
Okay, thank you. So, was there a question?
My question is for my friend who has a franchise, and would you be able to, of course, he is Black, would you be able to fund him to hire people and keep people, or is it just independent business owners? Because he's a franchisor.
It doesn't matter. I have contracts with huge multi-billion-dollar companies. I'm here because I'm trying to get the money to the small guys. So we have contracts. The big companies are getting the money. They're getting a check every month from us. And so I'm stepping up to let you guys know that you should be getting the money as well. So I'm just advocating for you guys, but yes, absolutely.
I'll let him know.
Okay. I have, just so you guys know, I've made packets of information and I have a QR code as well. If you guys want to scan it sometime today, it'll send me a direct email and we could talk about funding.
Another question. This is in relation not directly to my business, but for knowledge. For the state JTIP program and the WIOA, can they work together? Like, could you get double funding?
I'm not sure. I know that I get a lot of referrals from JTIP because we are in 2 different realms. So I'm not sure about that actually.
So typically JTIP, and I can get confirmation for you, but JTIP is strictly for LEDA eligible companies, local economic development act companies. So it's manufacturing based businesses or e-commerce based businesses will be eligible for JTIP. And the e-commerce piece is that you have to be able to prove that 50% or more of the product or service that you're producing is going outside of the state. So in order to be eligible for the state JTIP program, which is different than Job Training Albuquerque, where we pay up to 80% of salary for 6 months, I believe because it's state funding that it wouldn't be a problem, but you would have to both fit the requirements of WIOA, which is looking at like specific age range, even I think.
Well, we have WIOA Youth, which is
Okay.
from 16 to 24, and then I work with adult and dislocated worker, which is from 18 and on it.
They likely can work together in very specific cases if eligibility is met on both sides. Just get us all in the same room and we can figure it out.
Another question.
Just a quick question. I'm not familiar with the acronym you're using, WIO.
WIOA, W-I-O-A, stands for Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. It was signed into law on July 22nd of 2014 by President Obama. And it's all about upskilling America's workforce and getting skilled workers to employers and helping you to continue to support them through their career advancement and giving people a chance to actually sustain and live. So it's about career advancement and making sure that the people that you are bringing on board, that you're going to keep on board and help them to be able to take care of their families and survive, pretty much.
Thank you. We'll take one more question, then we'll combine my last two questions.
I see that people are recording back there, and I was wondering if there's a website we can go to rewatch this whole thing later on.
Yes, so we're live streaming now, so
Okay.
we're on YouTube, so we can send the link out to everybody too that registered, so you have it, but we are live right now on GovTV, channel 16, just let you know, and live on YouTube and several Facebook pages right now. Hey, y'all watching virtually.
Leave it to Nicole. She'll hook you up.
Yeah.
So
it's
my
available.
last two questions, then we'll combine them because they're very similar. So the next question is, what is the difference between having to have a license and a permit to do business? And the last question is, as a organization, whether state or city, is there a preference policy that you would have to adhere to?
So for the license, it just depends on the process that you're going through. So depending if it's procurement or becoming a vendor, as you go through the process, I'm not too sure on the major differences. And when it comes to preference, we really can't give preference to organizations over another at all. So.
Thank you. John?
It's very nuanced and it depends on what you're doing. I would say, and this is actually a good question for Naima, but she's not here. But there's pieces around having a permit to be able to do certain food supplying when you're working on some sort of block party or working in a public space, right? And there's needs for permits at very specific times, but you'll still have to be like a licensed business. Or if you're doing construction, you need to be licensed, bonded, and insured. Like it really depends on what you are attempting to do. For the state, we do have preference processes depending on if you're going through traditional procurement and RFP, request for proposals. There is a preference for native New Mexican preference. Okay, let me back up. There's like an indigenous Native American preference. There's also just a New Mexico resident preference. There's also a New Mexico veterans preference. And then depending on the grant, program, contract that you're applying for, there might be other stipulations on how they might be doing preference, right? I have strict stipulations for my grants where 50% have to go to rural or underserved communities, which is written right into the legislation. So I have to ask questions around where you're located and optional demographic data questions, but I have to ask questions around geography to make sure that we're meeting those required marks. So sometimes there is preferences like that. It depends, really depends on the project.
Kimberly?
Well, for my department, you have to be located in Albuquerque, but however, keep in mind that there are WIOA offices in almost every city and state. So if your company is not located central in Bernalillo County, then there's a WIOA office in the county that you're located in. And if you could probably Google and get that information or reach out to myself and I could forward you the information or get you someone in that district. But other than that, as long as you're a local business in Albuquerque, you have access to WIOA funding.
So I'll piggyback up a little bit off what Shani said. So a business license just grants you permission to operate your business in the state of New Mexico or the city of Albuquerque. A permit is going to grant you permission for a specific activity. So if you want to sell alcohol, you need a alcohol license, right? But if you want, for some of our smaller vendors, like one of the things we're planning for now is Juneteenth, right? If you want to cook food at Civic Plaza during the event, you need a permit from our environmental health department. If you are operating a food truck, right, you need your business license and you also need the permit. And the permits really just help us make sure that you are in compliance with safety and health and different type of regulations like that. The city of Albuquerque doesn't necessarily have any set-asides or preferences. We do, though, have a modified W-9. So at the city of Albuquerque, the federal W-9, you can check if you are a business enterprise, right? So if you're a minority business and you're actually gone through that process to get designated that, you can identify that. But at the city, we actually have demographics on our W-9. So we want to know, are you a Black-owned business? Are you a woman-owned business? So that I, as a city councilor, can look at the data and see where is the city of Albuquerque spending its money and with who. And that report's about to come out, and y'all, whoo-wee. And when I looked at, I'm just saying, when I looked at by type, business type, right? Construction, the Black community is a big fat 0, nothing, nada. So we got some work to do, and that's something that I want to work on in legislation to say, and this is the interesting thing is, we federally, legally, first thing we could have to do is that study. It's an MBE study, Minority Business Enterprise Study. And then legally, once that study shows that we're not doing well at that, which we are not even in the Hispanic community, y'all. And we in New Mexico. I would have thought the majority of businesses that the city is doing business with are Hispanic. That's not even true. So now that we have that study, I can then put it in legislation that says there needs to be a certain amount of set-asides for Black-owned businesses in the construction industry to force, right? And again, I have to get 5 votes for that. So I can't promise it until we get the votes, right? But that's something that we need to work on because we don't have that at the city of Albuquerque. To actually say we want to make sure we're doing business with folks we say local even, right? Yeah, so we have work to do with that at the city, but that kind of gives you a little bit of what's coming.
Thank you. And we're running out of time, so what I'd like to do, and I will come back for questions. If I can, I'll give you guys 1 minute starting from my left to right. Comments, wrap up.
Not much. As a business owner, entrepreneur myself, the one thing that I always suggest to people is being able to switch the switch from employee mindset to entrepreneur, right? That is a hard switch to flip. Going from someone telling you what to do to you having to tell you what to do on a consistent basis. So as an entrepreneur, it is up to you to get things done. It is up to you to make your schedule. It's up to you to make the vision known on tablets so you can have something to go after. So for me, I want to be here to provide information, resources, support, connections, and consulting. We've got a resource center, business resource center, downtown, 700 4th Street Southwest, free to walk in. We're there. We're also housing a minority business development agency as well. So we're here if you would like the assistance, but the one thing is accountability for your dream. We can provide the track to run on, but you're gonna have to strap the shoes on and start running.
Thank you. Yes.
For philanthropy and foundations, make sure that you're in alignment with what their focus goals are. When it comes to contracting with the state, I think the biggest piece is, as an entrepreneur, you are going to have that money up front. For so many state programs and for most of the contracts that we run, they're on a reimbursement basis. So even our LEDA grants and JTIP grants, which are the acronyms that come out of economic development, they frame them as these grant programs. They're not, it's weird words, because they're going to make sure that you have all your funding and sources up front, and then we reimburse you on the back end. Or if you're going to do a contract and you have to provide services and book a venue and you need these materials and supplies, you're going to have to come out of pocket to do that first, and then you invoice us, and you have to play that waiting game of 2 to 4 weeks to get your check or your ACH. So yes, landing a government contract can be really, really great for your business, but you also have to have the capital up front to be able to float in that in-between area. But we also have a program for that, so if you have questions on it, you can talk to us about it.
Thank you, Shani.
Okay, so I'm standing up because of the podium. So I just wanted to let you guys know that, please take advantage of your resources. Not only can you take advantage of WIO funding, but within the America's Job Center itself, there are other ways that you can receive assistance for your company. You can post jobs on our website for free. You can attend our you can attend our job fairs for free. I am sort of a double-edged sword. I'm not only here to help the business, but I also find the talent. I'm the one that's going to vet the skilled workers. Matter of fact, when I leave here today at 2:30, I'm going to a job fair to look for some skilled talent, and I'm going to pull some of those people to the side, and we're going to have conversations. So if you're looking for skilled talent, you can also use me in that capacity as well. And it's all free of charge. Like I said, it's all paid for with your tax dollars. So I would just say take advantage of the opportunities and the resources that are available to you.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you.
I think the thing I want to impart is leadership development. We talk a lot about, the resources and for entrepreneurship, but as a business owner, a lot of us don't think about leadership development. And what kind of leader do you want to be? And it ties back to our previous panel about recruiting and attracting and hiring good staff. But you yourself, what leadership development are you doing? What books are you reading to make sure you are getting better as a leader? Because I just saw a quote from a man who talked about being a good employee and working hard at our jobs, right? But my dad always told me, I go back to my daddy, he said, job stands for just over broke. And he said to us, from a little age, you don't want a job, right? Because you're gonna be just over broke. You need a career, you need a business. That is how this capitalistic system in our country is built. How many of you are in the room are business owners? Okay, awesome. Because this is a business, we just want to make sure we meet our audience here. Got the right people in the room. Now, of those that raise their hands, how many of you are homeowners? Good. About the same. That's good, because we need you to own your home if you do not. And we need you to own the building your business is in. Right? Because that's true ownership. Because that owner that really owns your building, if you do not, can pull the rug from under you at any moment. And there is a concerted effort in this country to make sure we don't have nothing. We don't own nothing. They're not making any more land. So my people, buy land. I'll leave it there.
Invest.
Thank you.
Invest.
So we have time for 2 questions, 2 small questions. Before I get kicked out.
We can go over a little bit. Lunch is almost ready.
Well, speaking of the concerted effort or the orange elephant in the room, are any of these grants or programs in danger of funding because of an executive order?
No, so WIOA funding is not, like I stated earlier, WIOA, before it was WIOA, it was called WIA, and it has been around on both sides, both liberal and conservative aisles. So we are also in the reemployment industry. So our building is also used for unemployment purposes. So if the current administration is looking to get people back to work, then they are definitely utilizing our services to get people back to work. And I actually watched recently where a lot of the displaced federal workers are using our job centers for reemployment services. So no, we are not worried about our federal funding because we are a part of Reemploying America, which is what the administration is pretty much trying to do.
Programs that I work closely with are state funded, so they're not going anywhere.
And as entrepreneurs, I understand, but if it's our dream and our vision, then we need to work together to find a way, no matter who's sitting in the big chair. Because I legit don't care.
Yes.
What I care about is what I'm after, and that's my dream. So I'm just simply saying, don't allow what could be possible to stop you from making what could be possible for you. I don't care.
Preach over here. And yes, same for the city. The city funding is, or mostly the funding I deal with is general fund or state funding. We have a lot of that with our oil and gas revenue, exactly here in the state. So we Well, it's just true. We do, so ours at the city, we have other programs we're worried about that are federally funding. We have about $253 million of federal funding that comes to the city. I'm worried about that, but not for our small businesses.
Thank you very much. My name is Louis St. Lo. I'm a manufacturer by trade, and I want to first thank the Chamber for having this, because this is the first significant meeting that I've seen that really impacts the community, the business people in the community. My focus is on manufacturing, and I do international business. I'm in the energy. We're an integrator company, so we have energy, broadband, and housing. And I'd like to see and speak with you individually to see exactly how you can help my business attain some of the grant opportunities and local contacts to reach the rural community in providing the services that we provide. We have integrated with local companies that have created new solar products as well as storage products. But it's been very difficult for us to penetrate the local market. However, internationally, we're pretty successful. We have a 500 megawatt concession in the Democratic Republic of Congo. We do have operations in Angola. And we are very keen on supporting American manufacturing and establishing manufacturing of these companies here. And I'm looking forward to getting together with your panel to see, because I do see that you have a lot of things that are of interest to me. And I want to thank you all for being here and presenting your services. Thank you.
We have one more question. Let me get to it.
So I just had a question. It was kind of like his. My business is registered here, but I do a lot of like international and national jobs and stuff. Do you guys still help with that, or is it only if you do work here and you're registered here?
Well, as long as for WIOA, if your employees are working here, then you can receive funding. It doesn't matter necessarily where your actual business is happening, as long as they are here. No, I believe, no, they would have to be someone on site at your location here. Yeah.
And for us, it depends on the program, but for example, if you're looking at JTIP, it has to be e-commerce based. So if they're working in other places, if you're exporting a product or service or good to another place, you're potentially eligible, but it depends on the industry. So just come talk to us. We're happy to figure it out.
Thank you, panelists. Let's give them a warm round of applause. Thank you all.